decrease of 7.4% in the crime statistics rates regarding bank robberies since last year. The South African Banking Risk Information Centre is raising awareness to bank customers to ensure that the statistics drop even further. In studio, we have the CEO of SABC, Kelani Pillay, to give us a little bit more insight about their initiative. Good to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you, Leanne.
So I started off being quite optimistic about the fact that there was a drop, but you're not that optimistic.
No, I think one of the things I wanted to just say at the outset is that it's actually not the normal bank robberies where somebody goes in and robs a bank.
Yeah.
This is actually what we call associated robberies. It's more concerning robberies where people are going to the bank to make large deposits or leaving the bank after having made a withdrawal. We have seen a 7.4% decrease from last year to this year.
In these incidents?
In these particular
incidents.
incidents.
So this is not focusing on particular bank robberies.
It's not bank robberies,
okay.
it's bank clients who are actually being robbed.
Right.
And while the bank suffers no loss, they're extremely concerned about the fact that their clients are falling victim to this kind of crime.
Yeah.
We had 1,083 incidents last year, and we have, for this year, from January to August, we have 1,003. So we're certainly not happy with that decrease. You know, we would rather not have any incidents at all. And that's why the banks are offering their clients different solutions and different ways in which they can do their banking to avoid having to carry cash unnecessarily.
Yeah. I mean, one would think that it would drop even further because I personally can't remember the time I walked into a bank. I mean, I go into a bank to do administrative stuff as opposed to doing, you know, proper money stuff. You mostly do that online, but I suppose not everybody is online and you have to go into a bank. But surely this could contribute to the decrease as well.
Yes, the banks offer various solutions. You know, now there's internet banking, there's mobile banking, there's so many different ways you can do transactions at an ATM. And that's why people are encouraged to go in and speak to their banks and find out about the different ways in which they can bank. But we know that it's not possible for everybody to work without cash. You know, businesses also make deposits of cash. And so they're encouraged to use cash management services where they can, or go in and ask their banks for the different ways in which they can do it. But if they're forced to do these deposits, what we say to them is, you know, change your pattern. Don't go at the same time on each day. Use different branches. Try and find other branches in the vicinity of your business and rotate between that, you know, so that you don't allow anybody who's doing any surveillance on you to know what your patterns are.
Yeah. I'm reading here that the decrease we're talking about doesn't include Gauteng, as bank incidents in this area has actually increased.
Well, Gauteng, we have the highest number of incidents in Gauteng. Gauteng, the Western Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, those are 4 provinces where we see quite a prevalence. But of course, in Gauteng, it far exceeds any of the other provinces in terms of the number of incidents. So while overall we've seen a decrease of 7.4%, Gauteng always ends up with a very significant amount of these incidents.
Yeah. How does it work? I mean, when we were just about to come on air, I mean, you were about to sort of unveil to me how it works. I mean, sometimes, you know, the image that I have in my head, or stories that do the round, is that, you know, tellers tip people off, or, you know, there's a whole bunch of stories. But obviously you have video footage that can really help us and enlighten us. How do these hits actually happen?
You know, unfortunately, the perception has always been that the bank teller is the only person who knows this information, but that's not the position.
Yeah.
In fact, from what we're seeing, that's really not the major problem at all. You know, like we spoke about, we have seen that the perpetrators of these syndicates, or the syndicates themselves, the perpetrators, go into the banks and they do surveillance. They watch to see, you know, who's doing a big withdrawal. And you can't stop, the banks can't stop people from coming in if they're standing in a queue and they're about to do a transaction.
Yeah.
And often these perpetrators would go in and pretend to do some kind of transaction. Sometimes they would do a deposit of a small amount or a withdrawal of a small amount. But it gives them the ability to conduct that surveillance that they want. They have the members of the syndicate outside the bank who would receive information from them. They'd either send them a text message or make a call. They would describe what the person would be wearing. And often the victim is followed. The incidents don't necessarily happen immediately outside the bank. We've had a few of those. But most of them happen after the people leave the bank. So they followed either to their homes or they followed to their place of business. And that's where the robberies actually take place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite frightening. This obviously doesn't include, we're looking at ATMs right now. Does it include ATM robberies? I don't know.
No, this doesn't. Look,
I'm sure it doesn't.
it includes robberies of people who would draw monies there and then leave and then would get robbed. So yes,
it does include that.
It would include that as well. Yeah. We've had incidents of people who have been drawn monies either out of a bank or at an ATM. And robberies, have taken place, but more of it has been around larger sums of money, and obviously people watch and get information as to who's drawing what or who's depositing what amount.
You can never be too vigilant. That's, I suppose, the story here. Kayani Pillay, thank you very much for being our guest here on Morning Live. The CEO of SABC releasing statistics talking about a 7.4% decrease in crime statistics regarding bank robberies. We're not talking about going inside the bank and robbing, but rather the clients walking out or going in to do the banking, and those are the incidents. But just be vigilant. It's quite difficult to sort of predict when something like this can happen, but it does happen regularly. Thank you. Thank you so much for being our guest. All right, we're going to now go back again to